The Hooke Road roof rack for the Ford Bronco. Should you buy it? Is it worth the money? What are the pros and cons of owning this roof rack? Well, watch this video and I'm going to go over those things briefly and hopefully help you guys out with your decision on whether or not to purchase one. Okay, so initially I purchased this roof rack from eBay. I think possibly I might have ordered one that was an older model or maybe not a new revision because mine doesn't say Hooke Road on the back. It only says it on the front. But nonetheless, the design should be pretty much the same. But with that, I will tell you that when it came, there was a hole in the box in the side of it. It seemed to be packaged really well, but when I opened it, I heard something fall and hit the ground. I looked down and it was some screws. So I thought, great, I'm going to be missing a bunch of the screws in there, the machine screws to install it. And now what am I going to do? I mean, I keep screws, nuts and bolts in my garage, but usually they're not metric. So I put everything out, took the inventory sheet and counted, and I was only missing like 2 or 3 screws, so that was good. So I didn't even bother really contacting the seller, but I did find, some screws and put them in the roof rack to install it and paint them black. So it worked out pretty well. But that being said, I think I might have ordered one that was old stock because I paid like right at $3.99 for mine. And I've noticed they're like $4.99 on most websites. So that being said, let's get into this and we'll talk about the roof rack. Okay, so as you guys can see, here's the Hooke Road roof rack with the Top B Amazon roof tent installed on top. You can see it made the vehicle significantly higher. I was actually not able to get it in my garage without letting the air out of the tires and putting a bunch of weight in the back, so that made it very difficult. Also, sorry about the background noise. I've got neighbors that just decided they're gonna start cutting sheet metal while I'm making a video, of course. But nonetheless, so it looks really sick on the Bronco. There was some things when I opened it up, it wasn't damaged. It was packaged really well. Like I said, I was missing 2 or 3 screws, so that kind of sucked. But there was a little spot here where you can see the finish of the roof rack. It wasn't painted, so I had to just I took a paper towel, sprayed some spray paint on a paper towel, and dabbed it on there so that I wouldn't get it on my Bronco while I was spray painting it. I could have used a tarp or whatever, but nonetheless, it worked pretty well. Try to zoom out a little bit so you guys can see it better. I guess it's about as good as it's getting. But it doesn't say Hooke Road in the back, so I think that's why this is actually an old, like I was saying, an old revision of the roof rack. Maybe before they started writing in it. Maybe that's why it was cheaper. I don't know. But the thing is made really sturdy. That's one of the, the pros of this roof rack. It is super sturdy. I mean, you can tell it's going to hold 500 pounds on there easily. I've been inside of this tent with my wife, and we both, the tent itself weighs 176 pounds plus both of us. So we're over that weight probably, but it seems to hold it pretty well. The only thing I will say, in the middle, I'm not sure if your guys, if you order a new one and it's full price, I'm not really sure if it'll be the same. But on this one, the clearance was so tight here that while my wife and I were in the tent, it did actually sit on the roof panel a little bit. Now, when we got out of the tent, I checked, took a light, checked really well. It didn't, cause any damage to the hardtop or, take away the finish or anything like that. But I was just kind of paranoid about that. So that being said, I did go ahead and take a rubber hose and split it and slide it up in there so that it, created like a bushing, because I think they could have made this a little higher. I mean, the roof rack is already pretty high, so I would have been fine with them adding a little bit of extra height just for some buffer zone. But that being said, the coating and the finish looks excellent. Here's one of the bolts that I actually put in to replace one of the screws. It was the same threads. I painted it black, so it doesn't really stand out that much. But that was kind of annoying, that I did pay $400 for this thing and had to put, extra parts with it. One thing I will say, when you guys install this thing, if you don't get these clamps straight, then it will squeak. When you run over bumps, you can hear it kind of going, kind of squeaks on there. So make sure that whenever you guys install it, loosen these clamps to make sure they kind of like seat well, and then tighten them back. Just make sure that it does have a foam padding under it. That's another plus of this roof rack. But I did actually have to loosen these bolts or machine screws, whatever you want to call them, to get this thing to actually sit level. Now, one thing I do not like about it, another thing I don't like about it, I would say, is in the back, they should have made an easier access for you to get to these clamps. So it comes with these clamps. Actually, I'm sorry, the roof tent came with the clamps. The roof rack did not. But that being said, they should have made an easier way for you to open this, because the way this is configured, you can't actually loosen these bolts and turn this thing straight up. It will hang, so that was kind of annoying. If they would have just made like a hinge system so that you could open it to stick your hand there to tighten your clamps, underneath for your accessories, that would have been great. I think that's something they should definitely add if they do make a newer version of this. But that being said, it was really hard to get in there, so I was able to loosen these a little and tilt it a bit, but I really had to cram my hand up in there to be able to access those, rails to tighten down the roof tent. So just bear in mind, if you do put a roof tent on, you need to kind of pre-plan how you're going to get in there. But overall, there's not any change to wind noise on this roof rack. I do have the roof tent on there too, so I could say both of those things, but I noticed that it was, there was a bar behind this that was kind of confusing me when you were assembling it, and I was like, why do they want a bar in here? Well, it's actually to keep this thing from bouncing in and out. So I don't know why I didn't think about that, but with the weather stripping they added here, it's actually really nice. It doesn't move, it doesn't bounce, and I don't hear any difference in wind noise, to tell you the truth. It might be a little louder counting the roof tent on top of it, but there really was no, noise that I would say like any difference. It bolted right up, everything went flawlessly. The instructions were kind of confusing when you're putting it together because it would, it was in Chinese. It seemed like someone had translated it from Google Translate, so I was kind of reading the words and it was trying to describe the clamps were longer on one side. It was just really confusing. You'll see whenever you order it, unless they've updated that. But yeah, it's not really alarming. It doesn't change the look of the Bronco that much with the logo there. It's kind of a round logo. Not really concerned about hiding that. So I am going to you've got about 45 inches left to right of real estate to install a light bar, and you can actually use these screws and put your light bar on there. So I've actually ordered one off of Amazon. I ordered the Nightlight, I think it's called, 37-inch light bar. So I'm going to install that up there because, I'm not huge on light bars because I do think they can make a vehicle look tacky. But that being said, you've got that big area, so you might as well put a light bar up if you ask me. That is pretty much it with this thing, guys. I'm not really sure what else I could say about the thing. It's a roof rack. It's really sturdy. It's really, the powder coated finish seems really, really well on there. It doesn't seem like it's going to break. The thing doesn't bow. I would say, I guess one more thing, they could have placed some kind of if you notice this tent is kind of sitting up off of the rail. If they would have put an adjustable, I'm going to say a butt plate or something, like an adjustable pad, that way you could raise or lower to accommodate your accessories, that would have been really, really, really good. But I could tell right away when I started assembling it in the living room. I was standing on not putting my whole weight on it, but I was kind of standing on one of the crossbars, and I was like, well, this thing's really sturdy. So I've got all that confidence in it. I don't think it's going to break. Doesn't really make, noise. And there's actually slots on the side of it, so you can get in there to, put accessories or something. Maybe that's a lock system. But I am going to put lights on the front and back. The back especially for tailgaters. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. But that being said, if you guys think of you have any questions or you want to know about the dimensions, just comment below and I'll try to answer your questions promptly. And please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to try to get better at making videos. I might need to start writing things down that way, because I kind of do have ADD kind of. But I'm going to try to start writing things down that way I can make sure I hit all the wickets on the videos. But thanks for watching, guys, and please subscribe.